Hello everyone. On April 23, 2006, in the city of Kiev, Ukraine, police were called to deal with a confused man. When they arrived, they found a young man who was scared, didn't know where he was, and dressed in strange, anachronistic clothing, carrying a camera. Little did they know they were possibly standing face to face with an actual time traveler. The man's name was Sergei Panamarenko. The police asked him for his ID. After he handed it to them, the first thing they noticed was that it was issued from a country that didn't exist anymore, the Soviet Union. Ukraine was of course part of the Soviet Union in the past, but the Soviet Union had dissolved almost a couple of decades ago at that point. So let's just say the police didn't see those IDs much anymore, especially on young people. This guy looked like he was in his 20s, and yet his ID had his birth date in 1932, and he matched the picture in the ID. Something didn't add up. When they asked him what day he thought it was, he said April 23, 1958. And the police said, "Okay, we're going to take you to a room where you can talk to the nice doctor." He winds up in a mental hospital and is put in the care of Dr. Pablo Kucherkov. The doctor asked if he could remember how he appeared in 2006, even though he thought it was 1958. And as recorded by the doctor, Sergei said, "It was daytime, and I wanted to go for a walk in the city. I took my camera, but when I left my house, I saw a strange object that had a bell shape, and it was very strange, and it was flying in a strange way. It is difficult to explain what I was seeing. It might be better to look at the photos from my camera." Dr. Kucherkov was curious, so he got a hold of the camera, and the first thing he noticed was that it was an old, rare Yashima Flex. The doctor was a bit of a photographer himself, so he recognized the brand and knew that this was, like, an antique, which was a problem because it used a type of film that hadn't been manufactured since the 1970s. You can't just take that down to the CVS to get developed. So he called in a photography expert named Vadim Poizner. Vadim got the film out and was able to see from the real info that it was manufactured in 1956, but it was in perfect condition. So, he developed the roll, and this whole thing just kept getting weirder. What he found were photos of Kiev, but clearly from a long time ago. All the cars, all the clothes, all the street signs, all were from the 50s. There were photos of buildings that didn't exist anymore. And Sergei, with his girlfriend at the time, out enjoying a beautiful day, wearing the exact same clothes he was found in. And the last photo, just as Sergei had said, featured a bell-shaped UFO. When the doctor asked him about the UFO photo, Sergei said, "Now you are convinced that I am telling the truth. I so far do not understand what this object is and how something like that happened to me at the same moment when I took the picture and I went down to look at the camera and somehow I showed up in this year." Dr. Kucherkov, being scientifically minded, hypothesized that if this was some kind of alien spacecraft, it could perhaps have flown him across the universe at the speed of light and brought him back in a split second. And due to Einstein's theory of relativity, he would experience time dilation, meaning while that time would barely have passed for him, back on Earth, 47 years would have gone by. The flight of the navigator theory, if you will. That night, Sergei went back to his room, closed the door, and was never seen again. The hospital's security camera captured when he entered his room, but it never filmed him leaving. The main way out was always watched, and the room's windows had bars, so there was no way for him to escape without being noticed. Yeah, Sergei pulled a Shawshank, only he had no Raquel Welch poster. He was never found. No means of escape were ever found. He just vanished, leaving the police with a crazy mystery to solve. A mystery that just keeps getting weirder, because they investigated the case and found that there actually was a Sergei Ponomarenko who was declared missing in Kiev in 1960. They also tracked down the woman from the photographs, his girlfriend, who was over 70 years old at this point. She told the police that Sergei had disappeared that day in 1958, but returned just a few days later, the exact amount of time he had been in 2006. But then she claimed that he disappeared again in the 1970s, and this time was never seen again. But years after he vanished, she received a strange photo in the mail. It was from Sergei, and according to the note he wrote, the photo was from 2050. It shows an older, mustachioed Sergei with Kiev in the background. Only the skyline is full of skyscrapers. He also told her that he would be back soon, which, for whatever reason, didn't happen. The story of Sergei Panamarenko has gone down in internet lore as possibly the most well-documented case of time travel in history. Later, there were claims that this story do not have real evidence. Comment below, what do you think of this incident of time travel?